Hebrews. This is Prophets of Awakening. This is our Ask Brother Leonard section, the 16th of February, 2022. And later on, I'll have a little discussion on some new information that came up about Esau. Just trying to keep everybody informed. I'm asking everybody to like, share, and subscribe to Prophets of Awakening, our channel, and hit the notification button. This is a non-Messianic channel. We deal with the Tanakh and the Torah. Tanakh is the Old Testament that was the so-called Book of Remembrance, and the Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament that was given to Moses on Mount Sinai by the Lord of Hosts. So with that being said, I want to say shalom and welcome everybody to Prophets of Awakening channel. Welcome to our Ask Brother Leonard segment. We're going to do our moment of silence, prayer, a little songs, and some current events, and a little need to know information. Then we go to some Q&A and some questions. Okay. Oh Lord, we come before thee at this time. We are thankful for the knowledge and the understanding that you have given us up until this point. When we seek thy face on this day, that you shower us with peace and enlightenment and a sense of togetherness. Oh Lord, we see thy hand in the affairs of the world. We know and understand that what you have spoken in the past, prophesied, will surely come to pass. Turn not thy face from us, but hearken unto this plea. Hearken, O Lord, and do. All praises unto you. Okay. Do a song. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna read Psalms 118. It said, "Thanksgiving for the Lord's salvation. Oh, give thanks unto the Lord, for He is good, because His mercy endureth forever. Let Israel now say that His mercy endureth forever. Let the house of Aaron now say that His mercy endureth forever. And let them now that fear the Lord say that His mercy endureth forever. I called upon the Lord in distress. The Lord answered me and set me in a large place. The Lord is my side. The Lord is on my side. I will not fear. What can man do unto me? The Lord taketh my part with them that help me. Therefore shall I see my desires upon them that hate me. It is better to trust in the Lord than to put confidence in man. It is better to trust in the Lord than to put confidence in princes. All nations compass me about, but in the name of the Lord will I destroy them. They compass me about, yea, they compass me about, but in the name of the Lord I will destroy them. They compass me about like bees. They are quenched as the fire of thorns. For in the name of the Lord I will destroy them. Thou hast thrust sore at me that I have thrust sore at me that I might fall. But the Lord help me. The Lord is my strength and song, and is become my salvation. The voice of rejoicing. The salvation is in tabernacles of the righteous. The right hand of the Lord doeth valiantly. The right hand of the Lord is exalted. The right hand of the Lord doeth valiantly. I shall not die, but live, and declare the works of the Lord. The Lord hath chastened me, sure, but He hath not given me over to death. Open to me the gates of righteousness. I will go in unto them, and I will praise the Lord. This gate of the Lord, into which the righteous shall enter. I will praise thee, for thou hast heard me, and art become my salvation. The stone which the builders refused is become the headstone of the corner. This is the Lord's doing. It is marvelous in His eyes. This is the day which the Lord hath made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Save now, I beseech thee, O Lord. O Lord, I beseech thee. Send now prosperity. Blessed be he that cometh in the name of the Lord. We are blessed with you out of the house of the Lord. God is the Lord, which hath showed us light. Bind the sacrifice with cords, even unto the horns of the altar. Thou art my God, and I will praise thee. Thou art my God, and I will exalt thee. O give thanks unto the Lord, for he is good, for his mercy endureth forever. So that's Psalm 118. Any comments on what you heard or anything that rung a bell? Okay. Okay. Verse 17 says, Psalm 118, I shall not die, but live and declare the works of the Lord. The Lord hath chastened me sore, but he hath not given me over to death. So I'm reading this because when you write about the scriptures, break it down, understand what's going on with Yahushua, because he a created being. Jesus, we just made him black. But when they created him, he's a white man. So you understand that who the Messiah is David. So he's talking right here. He says, I shall not die, but live. In the verse 17, Psalm 118, verse 17, and declare the works of the Lord. The Lord have chastened me. So they say that what he did with Bathsheba and all this other stuff that David did, that he can't be the Messiah. But he says right here, the Lord have chastened me sore, which is what he did. He told sword was in David's house, chaos and drama. He says, the Lord have chastened me sore, but he have not given me over to death. See that? So what they tell you, JC supposed to be his son, but JC was given over to death. And that son? But he says right here, cause he's the Lord anointed, which means Messiah, the Lord have not given me over unto death. He said, open unto me, 19, open unto me the gates of the righteous, and I will go into them. Open unto me the gates of righteousness, and I will go in unto them, and I will praise the Lord. So what are you talking about? It's 12 gates to get into the temple. How many gates he talking about? Okay. Any comments? Okay. So with that being said, I was going to open up for some current events. Anybody got any current events? Okay. Got a couple right here. Got a lot of information I got to cover. So, okay. You see that?
Yes.
Okay.
The vast majority of the U.S. population has never seen inflation running this hot in their entire lives. Explosive consumer prices are bringing a lot of pain to everyday Americans whose buying power has been on a steady decline. Despite all warnings, our politicians and policymakers have never ceased to print, borrow, spend, and pump trillions of dollars into the financial system, causing damaging economic distortions, massive imbalances between supply and demand. Now, we're left with this giant mess on our hands, and those who think this crisis is going to be easily solved or fade away by itself are simply being delusional. Unfortunately, most people were not paying attention to what economists have been alerting all along. And now that this is hitting all of us personally,
so notice what he said. People, population, the populace ain't been paying attention to what the economists been saying. They ain't paying attention. That's the reason I play these videos.
Millions of Americans out there getting incredibly frustrated about the current state of affairs. However, this crisis seems to be just in the very early stages. a whole lot of turbulence is still ahead. That's why today we are bringing you 5 numbers that indicate that the U.S. inflation crisis is getting even worse. But before we enter the discussion, please don't forget to leave a thumbs up and subscribe to get updated with our future videos. Without further ado, let's check this list. Number 1. The Producer Price Index, or PPI, just hit a new record high. Over the past year, prices at the wholesale level have risen at a rate of 9.7%. That's the largest gain since 2010. Last month alone, the index, which measures final demand for goods and services, increased 1%, double the expected level for January, as inflation pressures were unabated to start the year, the Labor Department said. The Dow Jones estimate was at 0.5%, meaning that the gain indicates an acceleration in the pace of inflation. In essence, PPI offers a window to the price pressures that businesses are facing, which will likely be passed on to consumers in the way of consumer price inflation in the months to come. PNC economist Kurt Rankin has explained. Strong gains across the board for businesses reinforce the inflationary concerns that the Federal Reserve is set to battle this year with monetary policy, and which the economy in general has recently begun expressing caution and concern over, Rankin highlighted. At the end of the day, it's only logical that when producer prices go up, consumer prices surge similarly. We just learned that the Consumer Price Index jumped by 7.5% last week compared to a year ago. And some economists argue that official numbers don't even tell the whole truth. If inflation was calculated the way it used to be back in the 1980s, then the real rate would be more than double the number that we were given. Number 2, the transportation crisis is far from over. Truck-trailer prices rocketed almost 30% over the past 12 months. According to data released yesterday by the Department of Labor nationwide, truck-trailer prices climbed another 3.1% last month, following a 3.8% increase in December, and totaling a 29.6% surge compared to the same time in 2021. By far, the biggest one-year jump in records going back to 1980. There's a massive shortage of trailers, adding much more pressure to our already stressed supply chains. Since the final quarter of 2021, trailer manufacturing has contracted. In 2019, manufacturers were producing 25% more dry vans, most common type of semi-trailers used to haul goods, than they are making now, despite extremely high demand. The slowdown in production is being caused by another series of shortages that include essential parts and materials used to make trailers. Of course, the effects of this shortfall are already rippling through the economy, leading to much more expensive rates to move goods across the country. The Department of Labor's index of the price of transportation of freight by truck rose 18.3% last month compared to a year ago. Rail freight prices have also jumped 9%. Air freight prices went up 10.8%. Number 3.
Okay. Any comments? That's what you just heard about the trucking part of that is what's going on at the border in Canada is a direct effect of that. People thinking it just popped up out of nowhere, but it's what he just said. The stuff that's happening behind the scenes that nobody paying attention to, we starting to see it surface, in the population and in the affairs of these America, especially in other countries too. Okay. Any comments on that? Okay. Well, it's, I don't know if anybody aware of it, but I've been saying it over and over again, but how that how that the Most High it was in Jeremiah time when Jeremiah was prophesying We know, we saw the story how the Most High came to him, got him, just like he came and got Moses, all the rest of the prophets, the ones that he dealing with. He came and got him, and he gave them a mandate and gave them a message and something that, things they had to do. So we got all these people with the modern technology, Facebook, YouTube, and all that. You might have somebody that's super duper skilled on YouTube, and they can make a website, and then they know how to finagle that website and draw people there, but they don't necessarily mean the Most High called it. So you got all these different people that can got followings, they don't know what the hell they talking about. So that stuff starting to come to a head now because of what the Most High prophesied is gonna come to a head. And not only that, he's gonna come back and take it right back in your mind and take you back who told you that. That's to identify the person that he sent. It's gonna reflect right back, just like he told us in Psalm 37. Don't worry about the wicked, the devices and all that they're using, because you're gonna look up one day and go to look for them, and they're gonna be gone. You can do something with them. So it's the same thing. So what I was talking about was, I said, I got videos, and I made this comment over Prophets of Breaking over since I've been on the line, was going to Africa. You know what I'm saying? The Most High, I'm just going by what was shown to me, and so that was ludicrous when it first happened. But now, other people, you can see that's where we headed, and so now you got all these people coming up with these stuff that can happen. It's like I said, with our culture, you can't bring something into our culture now that we're doing now. You got to go back to when the Most High when our culture was created, and what the Most High gave all the prophets for us, how our lifestyle, Moses and all that. You can't come today because of X amount of people doing such and such. Now you're gonna implement that into the culture of Israel. No, it don't work like that. You got to go back to the culture that the Most High created. When He first created it. So anyway, I'm gonna play this. I was noticing on the latest video on Hebrews and Negroes, the brother was talking about a previous conference they had about 3 or 4 years ago, and how that him and these other people had met, and they had certain viewpoints, and they just got along to get along, but they didn't really agree with some of the things. And one of them was about leaving this country and going to Africa or going somewhere else. And then you had other people talking about they ain't going nowhere because of, like I said before, America is our homeland. And like I said, it don't add up because of, he said he's gonna go far from he's gonna kick us out of the land. Moses even said that. No matter where our homeland is, we can't be in our homeland, because as he said, he's gonna kick us out in all other captivities. He took them out of their homeland. That was a privilege to be in the homeland. So he ain't gonna have you under stress and curses and have you in your homeland, because that's where he is. He's gonna kick you out and away from him. You don't want you around him. So they don't be mad up. So anyway, I'm gonna play this, and I'm gonna fight and divide it. Okay.
Good evening, good afternoon, my brothers and sisters. Check this out. It was a few years ago. Let me see, I think it's been like maybe 3 years now. Well, 3 years or better. I went to a Hebrew conference, and because I was the keynote speaker up there, right? And some of the sentiments that was running around at that time and what was being promoted was we should leave this country. Of course, then my question is back to these people, okay, leave. But my question is to you, where are you going to go? Well, we're going to Africa. Okay. then some people mentioned other places and all this. And I said, okay, I tell you what, I want you to lead by example. All right. And then once you get there, after about a year living there, I need for you to give me a call, invite me to come over so I can get an eyewitness account and assess how this move has worked out for you. Well, we are 3-something years later, and guess what? I ain't heard nothing. I have not heard nothing but crickets. You know the reason why? Because a lot of people say a lot of things with emotions, and they've been led by the emotions. But when it comes to implementing the plan, when it comes to actually doing something, very few people are people of their word. Okay, just like in the New Testament, you don't hear nothing in the New Testament where it says, "Thus says the Lord," right?
No, it's nothing in there.
That's a dead giveaway right there. You ain't heard them say, "Thus
Right.
said the Lord," yet, right? He said a plan. The Most High already got a plan. You already got a plan. You ain't got to come up with no plan. You got a plan. So right there, tell you that's a red flag right there. So and then, and like I said before, he already told you in Jeremiah 29 and 14, 16, well, he said I'm gonna return you back to the place from where you was taken from. It's back to Africa, back to the West Coast. That's where they got us from. And so, like I said before, you rightly divide the scriptures, and you got ears to hear and eyes to see. You can see that debunks us being from here. And it also debunks the fact that what plan you got to come up with. The Most High gonna do it all. When he called Moses to Mount Sinai, he already knew he was gonna bring 10 plagues. He already had a plan. Moses ain't have to come. Moses ain't have to go get no more Hebrew Israelites to come up with a plan. Yeah, all he had to do was what the Most High told him. What he had already prophesied. Okay. And another thing too was, like I said, you saw the 400-year thing. Okay, when they went to Africa, when they went to Egypt, he said that when the time for their captivity was over with, he said the same day they left. Same thing in Jeremiah, 70 years. After 70 years, the day the 70 years is up, this day he delivered them. So that already didn't kill the 400 years because we passed 2019. And we still here. So it's a dead cat on the line somewhere. Ain't how you work. And people of action. You see, a lot of these people that make these comments that are frustrated with what's going on over here in America, and they know that nothing's changing. I mean, they just tell the truth. The political system, the religious system here in this country, they always tell you that it's raining outside, but the truth is they're pissing on your leg. And they want you to still believe that it's just raining while they're urinating all over you. And people are waking up in every aspect, especially, during this last mandate, right? I tell you what, man, it's been something else. The one thing we can think about this pandemic, is that it's caused a lot of people that were asleep to be wide awake. Well, so I threw a couple ultimatums out there. I said, okay, let me see. See, here in America, I have a right to keep and bear arms. But if I go over to another country, that right and that liberty that is already given by God, that is afforded to me to be able to defend and protect myself, is going to be taken away from me. Then chances are, the people who want to perpetuate some type of evil or do evil or injustice against myself or my family, they're going to be well armed, and I'm going to be disarmed. And another aspect is, okay, so you leave this country and you go to wherever you want to go. I just heard somebody on a radio talk show said, well, how about St. Croix, Barbados? And they start naming the islands and all this other stuff. I said, okay. And then I heard the talk show host say the same things that I said to these people. All right, why don't you go? Why don't you leave? And what's preventing you from leaving? And he says, have you packed? And she says, I'm planning.
No, that wasn't the question. The question was, is have you packed? No, they ain't packed. No, they ain't packed. They're so-called planning. You know what? They're going to keep on planning because they ain't going nowhere. See, most people want you to believe that they're going to do something. All the while, they're not doing anything. And so then they asked me, what is your reasons for staying here in this country? I said, man, my people are native to this land.
It is.
Not only do I have Hebrew Israelite blood in me, but also have the indigenous American Black Indians blood in me. And so, since my people are already here, why should I leave a place that it was already our home? I hate to break the bad news to you, but I was just in the Dominican Republic, right? And
So what you think about that? What he just said? That's a Most I say all these people kicking against bricks. That's one of the bricks right there. Got JC one. That's one right there. Like I said before, you indigenous of this country. When he told us in Deuteronomy 28, they're gonna bring us to a place. And take us on a slave ship to another place, far from our homeland. And it's in the history books and everything else. So if somebody was already here, they ain't Israelites. Because the Israelites brought here. And then he talking about the gun laws. Wasn't no guns when Most High brought the 10 plagues. He didn't need no guns. And when he saved them at the Red Sea, he didn't give a damn about no gun laws. That's what I was saying about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They ain't come up with that. They said, do whatever you're gonna do, because we gonna he gonna come and deliver us, or we're gonna find ourselves with him. What the hell gun laws got to do with anything when you're dealing with the Lord of hosts and heaven? That's crazy. Okay.
While on the tour bus, they was giving a little history, and to the shock and awe of a lot of people in other countries and Americans who've never heard this history before, the tour guide began to tell the people that, Columbus landed here. He did not land in America. He landed here. And so I began to carry on a little conversation with the person next to him. I said, and there's like, huh, what? I said, hey, he's telling the truth. I said, all you have to do is just research it. And they were kind of offended a little bit that it was even being spoken about. And so I asked him, I said, why are you being offended? He said, well, we're here for a tour. We're here to enjoy the country, not to get a history lesson. I said, well, you can't tell people what to say and not to say in their own country that we're visiting just because you're paying money. You're here, listen to it. If you don't want to listen to it, put some headphones on. You got headphones. And they got even more offended. And I said, isn't it amazing? I looked over at my shine and I said, isn't that something? People claim that they love truth and their people are true, but when it's brought to them, they get offended. They get all in their emotions, as if their emotions is truth. And they were deeply offended that Columbus never stepped foot in America. Yet still he has a national holiday. I still don't know how that pans out, but he has a national holiday over here. But hey, America's built on lies anyway, isn't it? So anyway, I've been to these islands. I've been to other countries. And I've seen the economy. It's a hell of a lot worse off. Matter of fact, when I tell you third world, it's third world. And if you are a Negro and you're planning on, or you're a melanated person, and you're planning on going to Africa, in this country, those people ain't your people. Who told you that Africans were your people? That's the reason why they, just like in this country, charge you exorbitant rates about land and everything else. I mean, you've got to really truly know who you're dealing with. If you're going to Africa, know who you're dealing with, because everybody don't have the same sentiments. And you got a lot of Africans that would tell y'all, melanated people, that y'all are the Hebrews of the Bible. But when you get all of your emotions, you want to make a move to go do something. You find out it's a hell of a lot more tougher to do, because you have to be financially stable. You have to have already roots or something over there, because you're going to have help to know how to navigate the country. So people find out it's a whole lot difficult. It's really difficult to do something like that. They asked me, they said, what are you doing? I said, I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm doing. I'm actually in the process of building a brand new house right now. So that's letting you know I ain't planning on going nowhere. I mean, why would I uproot America from America when I'm actually building houses? And by the way, when I say I'm building it, mine's a little bit different than the way that a lot of people out there in America says. They say, well, we build our house. And of course, when I hear something like that and I'm of a concrete mindset, I'm thinking, okay, these two people build a house, but what they're really truly meaning over here in this abstract world in America is that they had their house built. They didn't lift a finger on anybody. When I tell you that I'm building my house, oh, you better believe, not only am I instrumental in the planning of it, the dirt work of it, now I'm going to have brothers in the assembly that's going to be helping. But you better believe I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there, and I'm going to be there with these two hands building it. From the foundation to the very top, or if I use shingles or metal roof or whatever I choose to use at the top, I'm going to be there. I want to be there, and I'm going to be a doer. See the difference?
Okay. So like I said before, Yahweh and what Yahweh said and what he prophesied, it ain't mentioned. It's what, what they can do. They try to do. Is there something? Any comments?
He on some stuff. He's really on some stuff. I don't know what he's on, but like you were saying, I don't understand what the gun laws got to do with anything.
Exactly.
He's talking about Black Indian in his blood. He got Hebrew Israelite in his blood. So if he's understanding all of that, right, and he's understanding that America was built off lies, then why he can't see everything else, like you said, because they're so caught up in JC,
right,
that they can't see nothing else.
Right, and then they grab a hold to certain things, just like I said, when they get ready to build a Walmart. Back when they were building Walmart, even now they building super Walmarts. They come in and see where the black folks is. They assess the situation. They're gonna build that super Walmart right where a whole bunch of black folks is. Every time they're gonna do that. So that's how they doing it now. Like I said, even in Christianity, you got people that build a church. And then they swear up and down Yahweh was in there. No, you went to the bank just like you go to and get a house. You went to the bank and they gave you the money. And then you built a church. There's no difference in the building a house and building a church. Yahweh ain't in it. That's you playing there. Indeed, that's what he's talking about right there. You can see his delivery. He's an ex-pastor. You can tell his delivery. That's how all of them is. They just going where the pickings is good at. And like I said, you got when they get these channels, they home in on certain things that people get off on, like QAnon. It was a bunch of people that was right for that when they brought QAnon on the scene, and that's why people latched on to it. And this indigenous thing, they brought that and they latched on to that. That don't mean shit. I mean, as far as what the Most High said, just because you got a whole bunch of folks coming in on that channel because of the rhythms of YouTube and all that, that don't mean nothing. And like I said, he's talking about getting in emotions. Hell, that's what getting in emotions is. You see the struggles with the righteous men in the past dealt with. There ain't gonna be no whole bunch of folks flocked around. cause something gonna come up or something gonna be said that they ain't agreeing with, and that, it ain't working. So that's how that goes. It don't, that don't mean nothing. All that I feel my hands and pick you up, pull up by the bootstrap. That ain't got nothing to do with prophecy. It ain't got nothing to do with what the Most High did in Egypt and what he did in Babylon. It ain't got nothing to do with nothing. That's what they getting sideballed at. Yeah. Any comments? Okay. We go another one of these things I've been harping on too right here. We're gonna play this. This is some need to more information. It's pertaining to reparations. It's two videos. They ain't that long, but I just trying to every time some information come up, I'm gonna try to share it with everybody. So if you notice, last year they brought that HR 40 up, which is the bill to investigate and find out, get information and address questions and try to figure out the way to approach giving out reparation. And they put that bill in about last year, and so they ain't came back yet. So we're gonna see right here how this going. It came back up to okay. You see that?
Yes.
1 year since a House committee approved legislation that would study slavery reparations for Black Americans. H.R. 40 would create a panel that would examine lasting effects of slavery and discrimination in the U.S. The committee would also be tasked with recommending ways to make it.
Yeah, this is one of those things I was saying about, thinking like a Hebrew instead of, these people operate on subliminal stuff. See that up there? They say HR 40. So the House representatives and all them folks created it right there. Yeah, HR 12, whatever that is, bill for the 400 years. They created that. Simple as that. When all of this drama came out about it and all that is when they brought it out. When they created it, saying the 1619 to 2019 was the 400 years. They created that. Okay.
Amends. That includes paying reparations to the descendants of people who were enslaved. But the bill has yet to be brought forth for a full vote in the chamber. Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee of Texas is the lead sponsor of H.R. 40. She joins me now for more. Congresswoman Lee, first of all, thank you for joining us. Welcome. Now let's talk about reparations and why they are necessary. Of course, who would benefit from this bill? Is it all Black Americans, only people who can prove that they are descendants of enslaved people? Because of course, looking back at history, I mean, discriminatory policies from Jim Crow to redlining aren't really looking at your family tree as much as the color of your skin.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me, and your questions are extremely important because it gives me an opportunity to clarify what H.R. 40 is. H.R. 40 is the commission to study slavery that has not been done and to develop reparation proposals. It does not give answers before the commission is set up, and that's why I think it's so very important for the American people to understand that this commission brings about restoration and healing. All those questions will have to be assessed as we go through the study process, the process that will assess why there are such extreme disparities in the African American communities in healthcare, in science, in psychology, in education, in wealth. The wealth gap is enormous between white Americans and African Americans. The questions of any amount or any assessment really is premature. The question has to be, what has the issue of 246 years of slavery done to the African American community? What has it done as it relates to their impact through the transatlantic slave trade, through the Caribbean, through the continent of Africa? All of that has to be studied for us to make intelligent decisions. And what I'd like to convince the American public is that America will be better. For one, seeking healing and restoration and repair. The world will be much impressed that America stops for a moment, the champion of human rights, as evidenced by our fight against China's treatment of the persons in their nation, the Muslims in their nations, the Uyghurs. They will be much impressed that we are concerned about repairing. That will be the statement that will be made if we pass H.R. 40, the Commission to Study Slavery and Develop Reparation Proposals.
H.R. 40 establishes this panel to make recommendations, and yet it's been 10 months since the House committee voted to advance H.R. 40. I mean, it's really kind of a first step. It's not even what those measures will be determined will look like. Why has there been such a delay in getting a full vote in the House?
Well, first of all, I'm very glad that 216 of my colleagues are co-sponsors. But you're right. The emphasis now is why we can't wait. And that's why we're excited that over 350 organizations, from the Anti-Defamation League, the Children's Defense Fund, to the Association dealing with Asian Pacific Islanders, the Children's, as I said, the Children's Defense Fund, the Episcopal Church, and many others have said that we cannot wait. And so it is important to know that we're not waiting, and we're engaged in negotiations to move this bill forward. We will see in the next coming days and weeks action on H.R. 40 because those who have participated in meetings, those who participate in the markup, our members of Congress, all see that this is an important step. And isn't it interesting that these discussions have ramped up in the month that we commemorate Black History Month? But we will see action because it is now is the time. And that action will give us a very prominently based commission of members who will have the opportunity to hold hearings across the nation, hearing supporters and those who have a different perspective. And out of that will come the opportunity for an amazing array of design responses and a response to the devastation of slavery of 246 years.
Ready to start eating healthier?
Yeah, notice she can say it 246 years twice. She didn't say 400, she said 246 years of slavery.
Now tell me about the lobbying for this bill. I mean, where are you finding success, and how confident are you that it could be brought to a vote sometime this year and eventually pass? I mean, what are the conversations that you've been having, and where do you find that people will, I guess, listen and support what you're proposing?
I think the best conversation we're having is about restoration and repair. To look at, we're the only population in the United States that were slaves. And slavery, of course, was abolished in the United States by the 13th Amendment. We still fight slavery around the world. But the fact that there were people who, African Americans, those who came as slaves and remained as slaves, they were born, they lived, and they died as slaves.
So came as slaves.
And so it is evident that we are unique in this country. And it's even more evident as we've seen the ugly head of racism raise its head over the last year or a couple of years because of the leadership, unfortunately, of the last president, who has created a divide, wanted to bring tension, evidenced by January 6th, where Black officers were called names by the so-called patriots, but who are insurrectionists and terrorists. And I think people are tired of that. They're tired of the bomb threats that are being called against HBCUs. They're tied against the anti-Semitism that's happening around the nation. They want healing. And HR 40 is a form of healing and answering questions and determining why there's such an enormous wealth gap, why racism still exists, why the Voting Rights Act couldn't be passed, why we're still working to get the George Floyd police reform bill. All this ties in to disparities in how African Americans are treated. The NFL comes to mind. So I think that when I speak to people about healing, restoring, and fixing, which is repairing, they open their minds. It is not about accusing people who are just here. It is historically looking at the record why we're in the condition we're in today. Looking at the record why the wealth gap is $13,000 for $13,000 for a family of four for African Americans to $165,000 for a family, a white family. Those numbers are stark. 13 to 15,000. Those numbers are stark. And so what we can do with this commission is make great change through information and facts. I look forward to change coming from information and facts. So we're not jumping to conclusion. We're going to study it, and not for a long period of time. We're going to reach out across the nation. We're going to hear different voices, and then we're going to assess what African Americans have said all along, that slavery has never been responded to. We've never been addressed. We've not even gotten an apology. And I think it's long overdue. That's why we're saying why we can't wait. And 350 organizations are urging action on HR 40 now.
Okay, any comments? Okay.
Why do you think she's saying the 200 instead of the 400 and some odd years?
Because it ain't adding up with what they, like I said, they created that bill. Just like they
But I mean, she knows everybody. Look, most people are gonna say, "Where did 200 years come from?" Because that was my first thought. Like, where did she get 200 years? So,
yeah.
I guess if they think if they say it enough, people will just go with it.
Right. And the thing about it is that like I said before, they talk about when the first people came here, which was 1619 back in 1619 they came to Virginia. But even the guy that was just talking said that Columbus didn't even come here. He came to the Caribbeans, and then that's where slavery started at. In the Caribbeans, the sugar and the sugar cane and all that, that's where it started at. That was way before 1619. And then when you understand the fact of the transatlantic slave trade, the Arab slave trade, you can't exclude that from scripture, from prophecy. So that's that was 1,500 years before they even came and got us from the west coast of Africa. So like I was saying before, what being indigenous of this country got to do with that? In prophecy, you're just gonna come in. It's like I said with JC, you're gonna come in in Matthew when information is given to you about things that happened in the Old Testament and the typology and all that. Then you say you go and quote some verse from the New Testament. So you voiding all the Jeremiah and Isaiah and all them. You voiding all that. You can't go jump to Matthew. It's just like you can't jump to and say we indigenous. What about the 1,500 years that was happened over there with the Arabs? There wasn't no people over here wasn't involved in that. It's crazy. But like I say, they holding conversation with all the wrong people. Yeah. I got one more right here. It's about 2 minutes.
50 years of slavery, decades of Jim Crow, housing discrimination, and other forms of systemic racism. All of that has led to this, a shocking wealth gap between black and
He just said it two decades.
white households in the United States. An average gap of $850,000 that, some experts believe, can be solved by something long overdue: reparations to the descendants of enslaved black people. But how do we even determine who's eligible for reparations? And can the struggle for reparations in other parts of the world teach us anything about what needs to be done in the US? To understand why there's a call for reparations, there needs to be an understanding of the scale of slavery. It was a crime against humanity in which around 400,000 people were forcibly brought to North America. Over the centuries, 10 million enslaved people were legally treated as property in the United States, brutalized and ruthlessly exploited for free labor, which was used to establish the country as a leading global economy. In fact, one historian estimated that by 1860, enslaved people were, quote, worth some $3.5 billion, making them the largest single financial asset in the entire U.S. economy. That's around $115 billion today. When slavery was abolished in 1865, 4 million formerly enslaved African Americans were freed. But through their forced labor, they created...
That's where I think they're getting the 246 years from. When the proclamation came. You know what I'm saying? Because up until that point, it was hard labor.
Billions of dollars in generational wealth for their captors and none for themselves. Back then, the U.S. government understood the need for reparations and passed an order to distribute 40 acres and a mule to all formerly enslaved families so they could build wealth and financial security. However, after the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, President Andrew Johnson vetoed the allocation and returned the land to former slave owners. One way to reckon with America's past and current wealth disparity is through reparations that close the racial wealth gap.
You should make direct monetary payments to the eligible recipients.
That's economist William Darity. He co-authored the book From Here to Equality, which outlines one of the most comprehensive plans for what material reparations could look like.
So we estimate that this would require an expenditure of approximately $350,000 per eligible recipient. You get a figure of approximately $14 trillion.
Reparations for the crime of slavery and its legacy have long been a subject of national debate.
I don't think reparations for something that happened 150 years ago for whom none of us currently living are responsible is a good idea.
That's what I mean right there. What the hell they got to do with anything? You know what I mean? You bringing up stuff that don't have nothing to do with the issue that's at hand. Like I said before, what gun laws got to do with Most High? Come on.
Academics would call the theory of distance, that something is too far in the past to have contemporary application.
So it's easy to see why Congress has yet to pass H.R. 40, a bill that was proposed all the way back in 1989. It would set up a commission to study and consider a national apology and proposal for reparations for the institution of slavery and its subsequent racial and economic discrimination against African Americans. And what?
So, like I was saying before, just putting information out there, you can they having trouble passing HR 40, but they got together and passed that other one, HR, the one with about the 400 years. There wasn't no lag on that, but it's a lag on HR 40. So, like I said, who you think dictating that? It's him. They creating this, just like 1948. They ain't Israel returning, but they laid it out. Got the whole world. That's how the whole world believed that Israel is then came back to the land now, because they staged that back in 1948. The ships and all. The ships of Tarsus, they had staged the whole thing. Same thing with this. JC, stage JC.
And its lasting effects. There's a precedent of reparations programs compensating victimized communities directly. Back in the US, the Civil Liberties Act of 1988 designated $20,000 payments to Japanese Americans.
They figured that out. But they can't figure out how to pay us, but they figured out who to get the money to right here.
Who survived internment camps during World War II.
The U.S. government has also made payments in instances where it was not the culpable party. Payments made to families that lost loved ones during the course of the 9/11 attacks, as well as payments that are being made to individuals who were held hostage in Iran at the end of the Carter presidency.
Up to $4.4 million per hostage or their estates. In the case of slavery, the U.S. government did promise reparations. It's just reneged on it. In fact, when the U.S. finally issued an apology for slavery, it included the disclaimer, nothing in this resolution authorizes or supports any claim against the United States or serves as a settlement of any claim against the United States. Nor did the U.S. ever provide true reparations, a process consisting of three things: acknowledgement, redress, and closure for grievous injustices.
It's vital that the federal government issue an apology, because that will create the justification for the redress plan.
That brings us to who would actually receive reparations. Those direct payments would go to the roughly 47 million Americans who identify as Black. But under Darity's plan, the requirements are a little more strict. First, Black Americans would have to have identified as Black, Negro, African American, or Afro-American for at least 12 years before any reparations plan goes into effect. And they'd have to prove that they had at least one ancestor who was enslaved in the United States. One way to do that is using the census. If your ancestor was present in the 1870 census and was old enough to have been alive in 1850 or 1860, but you can't find that person in the 1850 or 1860 census,
that would suggest that they were probably enslaved.
That's because before slavery was abolished with the 13th Amendment, enslaved people were not counted in the census.
They're actually missing people from the 1850 and 1860 census, and their absence there is a potential indicator that they were probably enslaved.
But while Darity's plan has received traction, it still faces opposition.
The impression down here is that Caribbean people who live in the United States, Black people, would not be entitled to any reparation paid by the U.S. government. But we are saying that's not right. We're saying that's divisive of the Black population in the United States. We're saying that Caribbean immigrants have been harmed by that system through racial profiling, discrimination.
The Black population in the U.S. is pretty diverse. Most Black people are foundational Black Americans, meaning they're American descendants of enslaved people. Others are immigrants or the children of immigrants who came to the United States from mostly African and Caribbean countries. Those individuals may have ancestors who were enslaved, but wouldn't be considered eligible recipients for reparations in the United States.
Descendants of the enslaved have a claim that's linked directly to the failure to provide their ancestors with the promised 40-acre land grant. And that's uniquely a debt that is owed to the individuals who were enslaved and it was not met, and to their descendants. The second reason that's somewhat related is the fact that the current or existing racial wealth gap in the United States is a consequence of policies that have been pursued by the federal government that built white wealth to the detriment of Black.
A major policy Darity is referring to is the Homestead Act of 1862, or H.R. 125, legislation to, quote, secure homesteads to actual settlers of public domain. The policy incentivized citizens to move onto and settle land that had been violently stolen from indigenous nations. It provided 160-acre land grants to over 1 million white families for a small fee, but excluded the 4 million formerly enslaved people from the program, who had already been denied the 40-acre land grants they'd been promised. Through the act, 270 million acres of land was settled across 30 states over 124 years. Remember, owning land generates income, and passing land down to the next generation builds wealth. So the consequences of that decision are seen today. Approximately 45 million living white Americans have benefited from this massive asset-building legislation.
I would argue that virtually all black people throughout the diaspora, the African diaspora, have a claim for reparations, but they don't all have a claim for reparations from the United States government.
The horrors of slavery and its consequences are not uniquely American. The transatlantic slave trade transported approximately 12.5 million enslaved Africans across the Americas. The overwhelming majority of enslaved Africans were shipped directly to Latin America and the Caribbean. Spain and Britain shipped around 1 million enslaved Africans just to Jamaica. By 1833, slavery was abolished throughout the British Empire. But instead of compensating formerly enslaved people, Britain provided reasonable compensation to slave owners through a then £20 million loan, which British taxpayers fully repaid in 2015. According to one estimate, that's worth over 20 billion British pounds today. For decades, descendants of enslaved people have been fighting for reparations in
Okay, so let's look at this right quick, cause like I said, it's gonna come to the head. But so the story is that I'm hearing a bunch of these brothers, ain't calling no names, that say they was already here in America, right? But who these people is? How the hell they get in Britain? Right here. How these people get in Britain? See, he said there wasn't no slave ships. They was already here. Well, how these people get in Britain? We can go for the story you said about America, but how these folks right here get into Great Britain? See that? So, it's too many holes. Crazy, and she just showed you where they got. The Most High told us he's gonna get transported all over the place. So they got transported here in ships. You gotta explain that, okay? Any comment? Okay, everybody good? Yeah, so we at the Q&A and comments and answers. Anybody got any questions or anything about anything they heard or came across that they want to ask, and we can go in on it?
Kind of what we're talking about. Mentioned some earlier when they were talking about I guess how China treats African Americans over there, or blacks over there in general.
Right.
I was just watching something about how in Japan and Thailand, those areas,
Right.
Guam and I forgot the other ones, but over there, as opposed to China, they treat Africans like they know. They treat African Americans differently than they treat the Africans. So they treat the blacks differently. And one of the girls was saying once they hear you talk and they realize that they're African Americans, it's a level of respect that they have, but they despise the Africans. So I just thought that was interesting that in Thailand and Japan area that they even note that difference. And I know it could be because they think the United States we're privileged, but I think it's deeper than that. I don't know.
Yeah, well, from me looking at it, checking it out, you got to go back to everybody focus on America. So, like when rap came out, 50 Cent and Jay-Z and all those people, just like we, over here, we idolize them, the Chinese idolize them. So
Yeah, and they love Michael Jackson. You're right, and all those,
so
entertainers. Mm.
you got all those people that they got all those it's a lot of guys that disappeared from here, from the NBA. They over there, so they get way more money. You think they didn't retire from, but they over there playing basketball, like the dude Marbury, who played for New York, and it's a bunch of guys. And left here, they ain't over here playing over there for the Chinese, and the Chinese love them. So I think there's a lot. They just like we see those people's faces all the time on television. They see them too.
But they're saying Chinese, the Chinese, as opposed to the Japanese. Japanese people are more accommodating than Chinese people too.
Right.
I guess outside people. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. That's it. Okay. Anybody else got any questions or comments about anything? Okay. What I'm gonna do is go ahead and go into the lesson. What it is it's about Esau. It's coming from something I watched, and it's more added information. And we're gonna play it and then break it down. Okay. Let's see.
All right, y'all. Just rewind there what we back with that history before the vote, huh? We're gonna do it the same way this time as we do it every time. We're gonna show y'all new history through old historical books, and we're gonna correlate those old historical books with old historical maps. All right? Now, if you watch the Gold Closing Hoes that Jacob proposed, you learn the importance of these books and maps. You saw how these books was written for the kings and for the leaders of this world. You saw how the maps was written for the kings and for the leaders of this world. You saw what the map says as the act declares. You learned how King Charles III ordered this map to be made. Why? Because according to the Encyclopedia Britannica, a dictionary of words compiled upon a new plan from 1771,
African Company, a society of merchants established by King Charles II for trading to Africa, which trade is now laid open to all His Majesty's subjects, paying 10% for maintaining the forts.
And this is what I was saying. Like, okay, see that dude? He got some African features in him. That's what they're talking about saying that King James and all that was black. Yeah, they had Negro features, but the Edomites. That's where the trick coming in there. And like I said before, they came here because they was kicked out of land of Israel. They came here and they started naming stuff over here by Israelite names. It's them. Well, yeah.
So now you see King Charles III ordered the map to be made. His daddy, King Charles II, he's the one who set up those African companies, those charter companies that we talked about in Gold Clothes and Hoes.
See that how? We see that every day now from all this mixing going on. See that? He got this Negro that he mixed. He got woolly hair. And you see that you're looking at it all through history in high school, but you just ain't know what the hell you was looking at. But see that? That's that old woolly hair from being mixed.
Companies up. Remember those African charter companies and those East India companies and all of those companies started the stock market. Remember all of this go together now. All of these videos gonna flow together, all right? So you gotta watch them all and pay attention. Really pay attention. All right? Okay, so now when he started that stock market, all these other nations want to come over there. All right? So they can come over there and they can do their little hustle on the 10% fee. That was the deal. Pay attention to what's going on. See, the world know who you are, and they know what you had. You just don't understand your history. So now all the nations come, they get the gold we talked about, and then they get the people. What people? The same people we showed y'all on being the builders that went into that area. Abraham's descendants. Because remember, we showed y'all on being in the builders. Abraham came south out of Egypt, and he established himself in Africa. We showed y'all that. All right, now Abraham had many kids. All right, he was like a rolling stone. All right, but we just gonna talk about his oldest son, Ishmael, and then he had Isaac. All right. Now, Ishmael felt like he should get the blessing. He should get the promise. All right, because he's the oldest son. But Ishmael is by Abraham's concubine. And Isaac is by Abraham's wife Sarah. All right. Now Isaac gets the blessing from the Most High. Isaac is the father of Jacob and Esau. All right. Out of those two are twins, Jacob and Esau. Esau, he's the oldest. But Jacob gets the blessing. All right. Now Esau, he feels he should get the blessing, just like Ishmael. All right. So when Abraham got the promise to the promised land, it was going to be passed on from generation to generation, but only through one child. All right. So it just meant Abraham's descendants should be the rulers of the leaders over this area of the land. It doesn't mean that they'll be the only ones in the land. All right. They're just going to be the heads. And this is why the other kids, Ishmael and Esau, this is why they feel like they deserve the promise, the inheritance. All right, because they're the oldest. And naturally, the oldest child gets the inheritance of being the ruler or the overseer. All right. So the whole little dispute between Ishmael, Jacob, Esau, Isaac, is who gets to be overseers in the promised land. All right.
Abraham left all that was with him to Isaac, but to the sons of the secondary wives that Abraham had, Abraham gave fortunes and sent them from his son Isaac during his own life to the east of the eastern country. Arabia is the ancient as well as the modern name, though the people have been long called Saracens, or the inhabitants of the deserts. Sar in their language signifying a desert. Some derive the name Arabia from Arabi, a thief or robber, as they have been generally esteemed by their neighbors ever since they were a nation to the present time. Others observe that the word Arab in Hebrew signifies black, as the inhabitants of this country, it is said, anciently were, in this country called Ethiopia, as well as Abyssinia, or the Upper Ethiopia, which is divided from it only by the Red Sea and the narrow Strait of Bab el Mandeb.
All right, and that book was from Universal Traveler or a Complete Description of Several Foreign Nations of the World, Volume 1, by Thomas Salmon, 1759, all right? And they showed us that in the ancient Arab or Arabia meant black, all right? That's why Queen Sheba was there. She ruled Ethiopia, that whole area, he was saying, just divides each other by the Red Sea. They all was black. That's the area Abraham sent Ishmael to, send his kids eastward. That's the area Lot went to. All right, they all were black. Now, just for a side note, Arab means mixed multitude because they mixed. But in the ancient, Arab meant black. All right, that's very important when we find Esau. All right, and that's also why this book, Dictionary Britannica, or more complete universal etymological English dictionary from 1742 by Nathan Bailey says
Arabia,
Arabia,
and the Hebrew
and
black,
the Hebrew
or
black,
Arabic,
or Arabic,
Hebrew,
Hebrew,
thief or
a
robber,
thief or robber,
one on account
the
of the
one on
swarthy
account of the
complexion,
swarthy
the
complexion,
latter on
the
account of
latter
their
on account
thieving
of their
disposition.
thieving
In other
disposition.
words,
In
the
other words,
first
the
Hebrew word
first Hebrew
is on
word
account
is
of
on
their
account
black or
of their
dark,
black
the
or
swarthy
dark,
mean
the
dark or
swarthy
black
mean dark or
complexion, all
black
right?
complexion, all
The
right?
second word,
The
why they call
second
them,
word, why they
is on
call them,
account of their
is on
thieving
account of their
disposition,
thieving
all right?
disposition, all right?
The Arabs
The
having in
Arabs
all
having in
ages
all
been
ages
so
been
addicted to
so
this vice
addicted to this
that the
vice
Martin Del
that the
Rio
Martin Del
observed it
Rio
was
observes it
as
was
usual for the
as
Jews
usual
to
for the
call a
Jews to
thief
call
an
a thief
Arab
an Arab
as it was to
as it
call a
was to
merchant
call a
a
merchant a
Canaanite, a
Canaanite
politician,
and a
a
politician
Chaldean,
a
all right?
Yeah.
Chaldean.
So let's
All
look
right.
at that right quick. Shine light on that. Like I say, it's another one of those hooks. So I'm in Obadiah right quick. Book of Obadiah. And it says, he's showing you the old dictionaries back in the day before they started hoodwinking them when we started waking up. So it says, the Most High talking. In verse 5, Obadiah, if these came to thee, if robbers by night, how were thy cut off? Would they not have stolen till they had enough? If grape gatherers came unto thee, would they not leave some grapes? So that's verse 5. Talk about thieves and robbers. Then 6, how are the things that Esau searched out? Esau the thief. So the brother's showing you right here that Esau was black, but he's a thief, he's a robber. So you have to apply that. Like I said before, they hollering about King James and all them over the King James Bible was black and they Israelites. No. They write it out after when they got over, they had predominant Negroid features. That's what Hitler was saying. That he wanted the Aryan race to come before the Negroes came. He was talking about them Edomites came, because like I just showed you, on the slave ship they brought a bunch of Israelites over there to Great Britain, but they was enslaved. These folks right here, King James and all them came there with money, Edomites. And then they married into all these European families, aristocratic families, and they write it out. They don't look like they looked when they first got there. And that's where so many people getting hoodwinked at. And a lot of these crazy ass doctrines coming from today. You're looking at them thinking they're Israelites, they ain't no Israelite. Because some of the simplest things they ain't getting.
Right?
Right.
All right, now to start out
with finding Esau, we're going to go into
the
the
Bible
Bible
and
in modern
by
English
Fenton
by
Farrer
Fenton Farrer from
1832
1832 through
1920.
1920.
All right,
All
and the
right, and the
publication
publication
date
date
says
says
1901.
1901.
And
And
on
on
the
the
side
side
of it,
of it,
to
to correlate
that
that
book,
book,
we're
we're
going
going to
to go
go
with
with the
the King
King
James
James
version
version
of
of
today's
today's
Bible.
Bible.
All right, so
All
they're
right,
going
so
to show
they're going to
side
show
by
side
side.
by side.
All right?
All right,
So,
so
let's go.
let's go.
And these are the children of Isaac, son of Abraham. Abraham begot Isaac, and Isaac, son of Abraham, was 40 years old when he took for his wife Rebekah, the daughter of Bethuel the Aramite, of Padan Aram, the sister of Laban the Aramite. And Isaac prayed to the ever-living about his wife, for she was childless, and the Lord answered him. For Rebekah his wife conceived, and the children struggled together in her breast, and she consequently said, Why does this happen to me? So she went to inquire of the ever-living. And the Lord said to her, 2 nations are in your breast, and 2 people shall proceed from your womb. And 1 people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. When her days were full for her delivery, there were twins. And the firstborn boy came out covered with hair, and she called his name Esau. Then after him came his brother, with his hand holding the heel of Esau, so they called his name Jacob.
All right, y'all, to start off, we're
All right,
going to
y'all.
look
To
at a
start
couple
off,
of
we're going to
words
look at a couple
that
of
was
words
mentioned. All
that
right?
was mentioned.
So we're
All
going
right.
to look at,
So we're going to look
first
at
word we're going to look
first
at
word
is
we're going to look
nation.
at is
All right, and
nation.
it's from
All
the
right, and it's
Hebrew
from the Hebrew
523.
523.
All right, and
All right,
nation
and
just means
nation just
a
means a
collection.
collection.
All right? A
All right,
collection.
a collection.
Example, community,
Example: community,
persons,
persons,
people.
people.
So
So
it's
it's
two
two
different
different
collections
collections
in your
in your
stomach.
stomach.
Two
Two
different
different
persons.
persons.
Two
Two
different
different
people.
people.
All
All right.
right?
So
So
a
a nation
nation
also
also
means
means
folk,
folk,
men.
men.
All
All
right?
right,
Troops,
troops,
attendants,
attendants,
tribe.
tribe.
So it's two
So it's
different
two different
tribes
tribes
in your
in your
stomach.
stomach.
Two
Two
different
different
kinfolk, two
kinfolk, two
different
different
men,
men,
two
two
different
different
people.
people.
All
All right.
All right.
So a
So a
nation
nation don't just mean
a nation
a nation
how they have
how
us
they
thinking
have
of it
us
in
thinking
the
of it
sense of
in the sense of
United States,
United States,
Canada.
Canada.
No, it
No,
could just
it could
mean
just mean
two
two
different
different
people.
people.
You and
You
your
and your
sibling
sibling
start doing
start
two
doing two
different
different
things,
things,
going two
going
different
two
ways,
different ways,
having
having two different
cultures of life.
cultures of life.
That'll be two
That'll be
different nations.
two different nations.
And he went to
And he
Canaan,
went to
to
Canaan,
the Holy Land.
to the
All
Holy
right.
Land. All right.
Isaac died while he
Isaac
was up
died
there.
while he was up there.
Jacob came
Jacob came back
down
down to
bury
bury Isaac.
That's when
That's when
Esau
went up
to
to
Saudi
Saudi
Arabia.
Arabia.
All right.
All right.
Esau
Esau
didn't even leave
that
that area
until
until
Isaac died. All right.
And
I can't believe really that I had to do a video showing
that
that
Esau
Esau
is
is
not
not
white
people.
All
All
right.
right.
But
we
we got
liars
in
in the community
that's teaching
that's
the people
teaching the
lies.
people lies.
So
So
I
I had to do this video.
And
And
I
I
wasn't
wasn't
laughing
laughing at
at
the
people
people
who
who
believe the
believe the
liars.
liars.
I was
laughing
at the
at the
liars
liars
who
who
teach
teach this
this
stuff.
stuff.
It's just
Funny how
funny how
claimed
someone
to study
claimed
and
to
study and
study and
study
study and
and
study
and
and
love the Most High
love the
and
Most
have
High
so
and
much
have
hate
so much
and,
hate
and so little
and so
knowledge.
little
It's
knowledge.
just
It's just
funny to me.
me.
So
So
right now
right now
we're
we're
finna
finna
just
just
do
do
a
a
quick
quick
overview
overview
on
on how we came
into
into
Africa,
Africa,
how
how
Abraham
Abraham
left
left
Egypt
Egypt
and
and
how he
went
took
into
with him
Africa,
gold
the
and
gold and
cows and
cows
sheep
and sheep
and all kind of
all kind of
resources and
resources
animals
and
and stuff.
animals
All
and
right.
stuff. All right.
Now when he
Now
was
when
in
he
this
was in
land,
this land,
he
he
still
still
wasn't
wasn't
ruler
ruler
of this
of this
land. All
land.
right.
All right.
Even though
Even
he
though he
had
had
people
people
working
working
for him
for
and
him
all
and
of
all
this,
of this,
he
he
still
still
wasn't the
wasn't the
ruler
ruler
or
or
the
the
lord
Lord
of
of
this
this
land. It was
land. It was
still the
still the
Canaanites and
Canaanites and
Perizzites land.
Perizzites
All right.
land. All right.
He just
He just
lived in
lived
this land.
in
All
this
right.
land. All right.
The Father
The
still
Father
had
still
blessed
had
him
blessed
that
him
he would be
that
the
he would be the
ruler of this
ruler
whole
of
land
this whole
through his
land through
lineage.
his
All right.
lineage. All right.
And the only
And the
reason
only reason
that he was
he was
given this
given
land
this land
is because
is
him
because
and
him
the
and
people
the
of the
people
land
of the
had made a
land had made a
deal that they
deal
wouldn't
that they wouldn't
ever, ever,
ever, ever,
ever go to war
ever
with each
go to
other.
war with
But
each
the
other.
people of the
But the
land
people of the land
reneged on the deal,
reneged
all
on the
right?
deal,
They
all right?
reneged on the
They
deal and they
reneged on the
started
deal and they started trying
trying
to
take him out
take him
anyway.
out anyway.
So the
So
Father
the Father
promised
promised
all of their
all of
land
their land
to him.
to him.
Also,
Also,
the
the
Canaanites
Canaanites
were in
were in
Israel also.
Israel also.
Israel
Israel
was the land
was
of
the
Shem.
land of
There
Shem.
wasn't
There
Ham's
wasn't
land.
Ham's land.
Africa was
Africa was
Ham's land, all
Ham's
right? The
land, all right? The
Canaanites were
Canaanites
supposed
were
to be
supposed
in
to be in
Africa,
Africa,
but they
but
had
they had
moved
moved
up into
up into
Shem's land
Shem's
and
land
started
and
taking
started
over
taking
areas of
over areas
Shem's
of
land.
Shem's land.
By doing
By
these
doing
things,
these
it
things,
caused the
it caused the
Father to say,
Father to say,
okay,
okay,
now
now
your
your
land gets
land gets
taken
taken
and
and
given to
given
the
to the
ones
ones
who
who
you're
you're
trying to
trying to
take
take
their
their
land,
land.
all right?
All right.
So
So
now,
now,
while in
while in
Africa,
Africa,
in the
in the
Promised Land,
promised land,
before his
before his
death,
death,
Abraham
Abraham
sends
sends
Ishmael
Ishmael
and
and
all the
all the
rest of
rest
his
of his
kids
kids
to the
to the
east,
east.
all right?
All
He
right.
give
He
them
give them
money,
money.
he send
He
them to
sent
the
them to
east.
the east.
Isaac
Isaac
stays in
stays
Africa
in
where
Africa where
Abraham is.
Abraham is.
Now
Now
Isaac is the
Isaac is the
grandfather of the
grandfather of the
Israelites.
Israelites.
Now
Now
Isaac is
Isaac is
still not the
still not
one
the
in
one
charge
in
of the
charge of
land
the
at this
land at this
particular time.
particular time.
That's the one
That's
that's
the
going
one
to
that's going to
inherit the promise.
inherit the
All
promise.
right.
All right.
Now if you
Now if
watch
you watch
Joshua the
Joshua the
Juggernaut,
Juggernaut,
you'll
you'll
understand
understand
how
how
Joshua
Joshua
led the
led the
people
people
up
up
to
to
Jerusalem
Jerusalem
and
and
then
then
chased
chased
all of the
all of the
Canaanites
Canaanites
out
out
and
and
led
led
all of the
all of the
people
people
over
over
into
into
Africa.
Africa.
When he
When he
led all
led
of the
all of the
people
people
into
into
Africa,
Africa,
then we
then we
start
start establishing it
and being
and
the
being the
rulers of
rulers
the
of the
land.
land.
All right.
All right.
Now
Now
we're
we're
ruling the
ruling the
land.
land.
Now the
Now the
promised land
promised
is
land
now
is now
given
given
to us.
to us.
All right.
All right.
That's the
That's the
leading
leading
of
of
the
the
people people into the promised land. All right, the Holy Land is where Jacob went after receiving his inheritance from Isaac, which was the one to be in charge over the promised land. All right. Now, when he received this inheritance, Esau got mad and wanted to kill him because Esau was the oldest. He felt like he should be the one in charge over the promised land. All right. So when he wanted to kill Jacob, Jacob fled. All right. Jacob mama told him, go get you a wife from my brother. So Jacob go and go get him a wife from his mama's brother. Now in this area, he have his kids. All right. Now the men of this area, the Canaanites of this area, they raped his daughter when Jacob and his sons heard about it, they killed all the men in the area. And then Jacob gets scared after killing all the dudes. He say, all right, all the people of the neighboring places, they are numbers. They're going to come together and kill us. So Jacob flee from that area and he go into Israel, all right? And then he built an altar there to start worshiping the Most High. And this is why it's called the Holy Land, all right? But it's still not the promised land. All right, so we're going to go into this book, Wandering in West Africa from Liverpool to Fernando Post, Volume 2 by Sir Richard Francis Burton from 1863.
I affirm, on the contrary, that from the Kru country to the Gaboon, there is not an ancient people now settled on the seaboard, including even Dahomey, that they supplanted the races who formerly possessed those civilized seeds, and that many, the Ampahu and the Calabar people, are likely to become extinct before the close of another century. The margin of Africa, in fact, like that of other solid bodies, is continually wearing off.
All right, y'all, this new wine, they're working. We back with a small sip of wine, huh? All right, the purpose of this video is to show y'all why they say Christ is olive color, all right? Or why they say Christ is basically green, all right? And why they relate that to the Arabs. What do the Arabs have to do with Christ being green, like an olive? Lego.
The Arabs speak in both the literary and the vulgar language of a red camel, using the term Amar, their common word for red, just as they speak of a green ass, meaning in the one case a shade of brown, and in the other a kind of dingy gray. All right, so the first thing we notice is green don't mean green in every language like it does in English, all right? That's why I said when the Arabs say green, in the literal, when they say it literally, it means brown. All right? And when they say it in the vulgar, or when they trying to throw insults, all right? It means like a dingy gray or dirty gray, because dingy means dirty, right? So when they say he's green like an olive, it ain't green like we think green. It means brown like a donkey. All right? And when they trying to throw an insult about it, when they trying to be funny about it, it means dingy gray like a donkey. All right? But they trying to be funny because dingy, dirty. So they saying he's a dirty brown. All right? It ain't meaning he knows olive color. All right? And even if they were talking about olive, the word olive itself comes from the word oil. All right? Oil is a shade of brown. But what happened is they tricking us and marking us at the same time. All right, so now we're going to look into this word burn, huh? And when we do, we're going to see it come from dark, dusky, developing a definite color. All right? It comes from bright, brown, burnished, make brown. All right? Brown, brass, and bronze. All the same thing. All right? So brass, bronze, to make brown, to burn, all mean the same thing. Because they all mean the same color. Brown. All right? So burn, developing a definite color. Also, brown. And that's important because when we read scriptures, when you go into stuff like Ezekiel 40, verse 3, and you see something like there was a man whose appearance was like the appearance of brass. It's the same as saying there was a man whose appearance was like the appearance of bronze. Or there was a man whose appearance was like the appearance of brown. All right? Or there was a man whose appearance was like the appearance of developing a definite color.
Okay, so this is Finding Esau, name of the video. You want to watch all of it, you know, go back and watch it. So anybody got any comments on what they heard? Everybody good? Okay, so like I was saying before, that's one of the things, the biggest thing to get out of that situation right there, that information is Esau done whited out. And you know, and you got so many people, like they with all this information is being fused together, but a lot of it is coming from Esau. And Esau put it all in place a long time ago. Like I said, with Josephus and Ebus and Caesarea, they presided over the council near Syria. Them all was Edomites, and they had Negro features at the time. They went and like I said, they went in amongst these Europeans, and they married into these aristocratic families, and they did a they whited it out. So you have to understand that, but he's still wicked as hell, and he's still connecting, hoodwinking our history and hoodwinking our scriptures and all that, flipping everything upside down. He's the culprit, and that has to be understood. Like I said, they came here. He the one came here. Most High has curses on him, and they said the sword was gonna pursue him. So he went through all those European countries, and that people started finding out. As they lived there, they found out what they was capable of, and they would come in and suck the people dry with usury. And then the people figured out what they're doing. They ran them out of their country, ran them out from one country to the next. Like the Most High said, the sword was following them, and so that's why in Spain, that's where he was posted up at. That's where he was sent when Titus and Vespasian sent Herod's lineage to Spain when they ran them out in 70 AD. And so they were looking for land, New Jerusalem, to trying to get away from the curses of the Most High. That's why those 3 ships were sent out by Columbus. And they discovered this place over here. They was here, they had already been here. And that's why when, like I said, George Washington got in trouble, he went to them. They had the money. You can't go to them and they don't have no money. And they call them Jews. And we know the Israelites is at the bottom of the food chain. So they ain't had no money. So they had to be imposters. Edomites. And to this very day, they posing as the Israelites, but they ain't no Israelites. Okay? That's got to be understood. Especially now, we in the end times, and the Most High is opening up this understanding. Yeah. So, like I said, anybody got any comments? Questions on anything before we go? Okay. With that being said, I'm gonna say shalom to everybody, and I'm gonna see got the women's line tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. So I'll see y'all tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Shalom.
Um,
Shalom.